Welcome everybody. My name is Jim. That guy over there is Joe, and take it away, Joe.
Good evening. This is Joe Lababur over in Stillwater from the Claim to Glory channel, and that's Jim Baldini over in Hardiston for Ballistic Patriot. And
Sandiston. Sandiston.
Sanderson. Did I say Hardiston?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, no.
It's all good.
A lot on my mind. Sorry about that.
No worries, man. No worries. All right, so what are we covering tonight, Joe?
We have District 3, which is an interesting district, Legislative District 3 in New Jersey. And what's significant about this district is this is where a middle-class, politically conservative truck driver took on the most powerful Democrat in the state, arguably, but the president of the Senate, a man named Sweeney, who is I would call him a regal prince of the unions of New Jersey, a person who has utter power and influence in the machinery of the New Jersey political machine. And this truck driver gets out of his semi-truck, gets pissed off, and runs for Senate and beats him with only like $2,300, and Durr had 300,000. And we're going to talk about the significance of this district to see if it's going to stay a Republican stronghold, and then just to observe, like I said, the image, the illusion of the Democrats being unbeatable is not real in this state.
No, so just to give us a perspective on where Legislative District 3 is, if we look at the image here, it is the orange section down here, right across the river from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And so that in orange is the Legislative District 3, just to give us a perspective on where it is.
And for those of you not from New Jersey, on the left is Philadelphia. Across the Delaware River there is the city of Philadelphia, which is one of the most crime-ridden, poorly run cities in America. It is a city that is a cesspool. It is a corrupt cesspool. It is a place you don't even want to drive through. My kid was going to go on a school trip there. I said, no, I don't want my kid on a school trip there. Exactly. It's gotten so bad in Philadelphia. To the right of this district is some of the most incredible cropland in America. I would say it's New Jersey's agricultural heartland for crops. Everything from berries to cranberries. It's just a great farming industry, farming environment down there.
And then just on the opposite side of the state is the shore, where you have great beaches and places to go and boardwalks and such. So, I mean, it's a very great part of the state to live.
It really is.
All right. So for our purposes, here are our numbers that we discussed. The candidates in the last election would be Durr as the Republican, Sweeney as the Democrat. As you mentioned, he was the Senate president. Sawyer and McCarthy Patrick were the Assembly Republican. They weren't Assembly, but they were running for Assembly. And then the incumbents, Burschelli and Talaferro, were the Democrats who were incumbents. So the Democrats were all incumbents, and all three Democrats lost. As quite a turn of events. It wasn't just. I mean, Durr had coattails. That's the thing to keep in mind in this race. He had coattails enough to carry both of these candidates in the assembly and to knock down Sweeney. Now, side note, Sweeney has a very big group of people who dislike him very much and have spent millions of dollars trying to defeat him in the past. But I don't think I couldn't find too much that they spent this time around. They certainly didn't give it to Durr, that's for sure. But because if there's one person that they like or hate more than Sweeney, it would have been Durr. And that would be the NJGOP.
Isn't that funny how elitism works? Yeah. Republican elites, the nemesis. Their nemesis is Sweeney. Sweeney represents, speaking as a Republican, Sweeney represents the worst of union corruption in New Jersey. And I'm not saying unions are bad. I'm not against unions. I'm actually for unions. I'm actually the product of them in terms of family-wise concern. And I believe in unions. I believe in the power of collective bargaining for the sake of the economy and the sake of the worker. I believe in it. However,
Yeah.
we have a problem in New Jersey with the unions dictating policy statewide. And we have a problem with the unions being short-sighted and supporting the very people that want to destroy them and destroy their economies. And then Sweeney, of course, is the manifestation of these guys. He's the leader. He's the prince of the unions. I mean, he's been an iron worker since he got out of high school. Well, not really an iron worker. I mean, he's been a union operative. I mean, he doesn't actually go out and work. Most of these union leaders, they don't work. They're professional union guys. So with the fascinating portion of this is that this particular individual in a particular area was so blessed and anointed, but yet our Republican elites would prefer to keep him than have an upstart Republican replace him because of elitism. Because Burr's never been to college, and all he's been is a truck driver, and he's not part of the political clique.
Right. And I think it's also important to note that the one union that was against him was the NJEA as the union that spent so much against him. So while he is, as you said, and I agree 100%, the prince of all unions, the one union that he was not in it was not in favor of him was the NJEA, which I mean, and as I said, I'm sure the NJEA didn't give Durr the money that they wanted to because they hate Durr more.
Oh, and how?
Yeah. So what we have in this race, just to look at the numbers real briefly, Durr won by 2,000 votes, which is a decent margin when you consider that Sweeney's been there forever, and so the Democrats have controlled this district forever, and the fact that he was able to take such a huge chunk. As of a lead of 2,000 votes comparatively, that's a big deal.
Consider this also, to put it some more in perspective. Sweeney was the president of the state Senate.
Yes.
He was also acting governor numerous times. The governor's executive guard detail also guarded Sweeney many times. Sweeney was the de facto ruler of New Jersey.
Yeah.
This guy is an incredible powerhouse. Durr drove a truck his whole life.
Still driving a truck. Still driving a truck.
That's right.
Yes.
Because a senator only makes $55,000 a year, and you can't live in New Jersey on $55,000 a year. So he's driving a truck. After he does his truck, he goes back and goes to. This is such an American story.
I
want to caveat something. I'm a big proponent of qualified candidates. And one of the issues I have with some of the candidates I see running locally is they have no way, shape, or form are qualified to do the job. But what I mean by qualified, I don't mean in terms of branding. I don't mean in terms of academic institutions. I mean the maturity and the judgment and the knowledge base, whether it be self-educated or not, to be successful in a legislative setting. And so far, Durr has been proving that he can do that. But like you were saying earlier, Jim, when we were talking offline, this is a minority party, the Republican Party in the legislature, and the Democrats are this overwhelming majority party. But the Republicans are acting like they're the minority party. They're acting like they're the wicked little stepchild getting beaten up all the time. The European parliaments are smarter about this. They call it the opposition. And the Republican Party in New Jersey needs to know how to act like the opposition. I think Durr is demonstrating that. In other words, it's not collaborate with the Nazis. They don't have to be Marshal Pétain. Marshal Pétain, the Germans win the war. They take over France. Marshal Pétain tells the Nazis, hey, you let me run the South. I'll give you whatever you want. Just let me run the South and I'll have my own little show. That's exactly what the New Jersey Republicans are doing right now. We're Marshal Pétain. And Durr is showing them how to be the French resistance. He needs help. And there's more we can discuss. But we can go back to the numbers before I digress too hard. I think we got a graph here to show that literally Durr beat Sweeney in every single location. He beat Durr. Hey, young lady, thank you. My daughter's bringing me a drink. Now you need to go back to bed. I'm on video. Okay, well, go sit down. We'll tell her. So anyway, if you notice across the board, it's pretty heavy. Durr beats him in Upper, he beats him in East, he beats him in Franklin, he thinks he beats him in Greenwich, He beats him in Paulsman, beats him in Swede. Some of the letters are cut off, but he comes close to or beats him just by a little bit everywhere. So there was a wide contiguous dissatisfaction with Sweeney in the way. But I mean, what a kink or a flaw in the armor
Mm-hmm.
of the Democrats for this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look right here, Salem is where he did upwards to 3,000 votes more just in Salem County, which
Mhm.
Salem County is that one on the corner, and he really did good. He was very competitive in Gloucester, and he won in Cumberland,
Yeah.
which is the one at the bottom off to the east of Salem. So he really did well in the rural areas, and those are the rural areas. The farther north towards Gloucester, towards Deptford, and it heads up to Camden, which again is right across the river from Philadelphia. The closer to the city, of course, the bigger numbers for Sweeney, but this is almost like like how the presidential election is. You do well in the flyover states. The Republicans do really well in the flyover states. They gather the numbers there. They
Mhm.
get the numbers there. Well, the flyover parts of the state in New Jersey are Salem County, Cumberland County, and that part of Gloucester just north of Salem. So he got the flyover areas of New Jersey
Mhm.
really well, and there's a reason for that. It's not just because it's Republican, because if you look at the numbers, it's again, like every other part of the state, it's actually more independent
Mhm.
than Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
And so, but the reason is because what the candidate was doing, as you were alluding to before, Durr is not your Sweeney. He's
Mhm.
not the elite. He's
Mhm.
not the guy who's like the prince.
Because the
Uh,
elites have failed New Jersey. The
yes.
tax burden is crushing. It's crushing the people of New Jersey. The Democrats capitalize on having a renter class that doesn't have to worry about a property tax.
Yep.
And they also capitalize on having so many young urban elites that go into the city. They may lament the fact that they're single, no kids, and no husband, that the income tax rapes them. They may lament that, but it hasn't hit them yet how bad this is that they're losing all this money. They're losing any chance of the ability to build a future with a taxation rate in the 50s and 60s percentiles, not to mention what you're taxed on for sales, what you're taxed on for gas. By the time you really look at it, without deductions, the government's taking almost 70% of your money if you live in New Jersey, New York area.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not incumbent upon you to fight to get your money back. This is fucking robbery. This is
Yeah.
disgusting.
To break down the numbers, I'll just take three townships in Salem County to prove my point. If you look at Pennsville
Yeah.
Township, there's 3,700 Democrats, 4,200 Republicans, 6,600 unaffiliated.
Mm-hmm.
Durr took Pennsville 2,300 votes to 1,500
Yeah,
votes.
yes, yeah, it's incredible.
Pittsgrove is 2,300 Democrats, 2,800 Republicans, 4,000 unaffiliated. Pittsgrove, he took 1,800 to 1,100.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers, that's big numbers. That's the election right there. That's like almost 2,000 votes. The 2,000 votes that he won by, and it's because the Democrats, they don't want this guy.
Yeah,
They didn't want him, and I mean, it's not for a lack of money, and I'll show that on money spent. If you look at the money spent,
that's incredible.
there's the money
Yeah.
spent by the
So,
Democrats.
yeah, everybody look at this. Yeah, everybody look at this. That big blue column, that's what Sweeney spent and
Yeah.
lost.
Yes.
See that little red smudge on the ground?
Pimple, the little red pimple at the bottom.
That's what Durr spent. So,
Yes.
and guess what? Durr's campaign videos were made on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Sweeney had pros making movies for him practically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Durr walks around with an iPhone and a few $1,000. and beat the most powerful Democrat in New Jersey.
Exactly.
That's what he did. And the other thing, I mean, here's another great example: the so-called Democrat, the so-called people's champion, this Sweeney character. And I'm sorry, I got no respect for him. I got no respect for him. I see these guys as not good people in a lot of ways. And there are some Democrats I have respect for, but I don't have any respect for him in fact, but based on his accomplishments, based on his achievements, this guy is just a toady. And we talk about his people. We got a presentation to give after, which is, after this, we got another video where we're going to just focus on Sweeney himself and his upcoming gubernatorial election. Of course, he's going to run for governor. They present themselves as these benefactors to the underserved, the poor, the people who are marginalized by society. But in reality, they perpetuate these groups through bad taxation, bad policies. They perpetuate this group, and then they BS these groups and hypnotize these groups into being their complacent zombie class that constantly vote for them. And Sweeney is the master at that. I mean, look at what he does. He cherry picks little causes. He cherry picks little causes. 1 minute he's about mental illness, or 1 minute he's about and he cherry picks these causes to present to people what an empath he is. But if you look at what he's actually doing, he is funneling all the money to the New Jersey unions in the form of a lot of jobs for New Jersey's infrastructure and projects, etc. And what he's really doing also is he's creating a political apparatus that generates donation after donation after donation. Yep. And the people that really support him are the people he's paying. And what bit him in the ass is that inevitably is not sustainable, because it leaves a huge piece of the pie that gets screwed. And who's going to have to support this sick world of Mr. Sweeney? Who's going to support this world? Well, it's going to be the middle class. It's going to be, I'm not in the union, and I don't work for the government, and I'm not some person who needs a helping hand. If I don't meet those three requirements, you're screwed in New Jersey, unless you're very wealthy. But there's not a lot of very wealthy people.
Nope.
Yeah. So that's why the word wrote. Go ahead.
Especially in that part of the state.
Yeah. Yeah. This is elitist arrogance. But what's interesting is Sweeney himself doesn't come from the elite. He's not a blue blood. He's not an aristocrat, or he's not raised by wealth. He doesn't come from old money. This is a man who the elites have very carefully selected to convince the non-elites that somebody's on their side.
Right.
That's who he is.
Joe, I wanted to show the cost per vote, which is also very telling. Mm-hmm. If you look at the graph, I mean, it's again the same story, different town. Sweeney spent over $60 per vote. And to keep in mind, these three ran as a ticket, and they ran with combined money as well as their own money, and all three of them lost. Mm-hmm. Because and they spent a ton of money per vote, $24 for one, $20 for another, and $60+ for Sweeney. You're looking at an incredible amount of money, and I'll put that graph up as
and
well.
Again, where's the New Jersey Republican Party backing Durr?
Yeah,
where are they? Where are the Teamsters backing Durr? Durr's a truck driver. I'm pretty sure he's in the Teamsters union.
Yeah, the total overall spent $912,000 by Bercelli, $742,000 by Talaferro, and a whopping $2 million spent by Sweeney.
I want everybody. I hope every donor watches this video and looks at those numbers. And I want every one of these donors to feel like the biggest sucker in the world to donate to this calamity.
Well, and I think it also goes to the candidate. And right now, going on in LD3, we have a challenge to Durr. His running mate Sawyer is running
Republican fratricides, because we failed to have leadership at a level that can minimize these fratricides. Yeah. But it does bear to be discussed from an objective viewpoint. We talk about a qualified candidate. Just scrolling at Burr's website, you see that he's doing a lot to contest and drum up a lot of fervor against the abominations of the Murphy administration.
Yep.
They're killing. He is speaking. He's definitely speaking for his constituents. He's definitely speaking for the values and interests of his constituents. However, does he know how to behave as the opposition party? Does he know? Is he? And if he is, how can we get support behind him to a New Jersey GOP that seems to treat him with contempt? If I'm the head of the New Jersey GOP, if I'm any serious New Jersey Republican leader, I'm all over Durr. I'm going to be down there holding his hand. I mean, unless there's skeletons in his closet, but I think we would know by now because
they would have found them.
The Democrats at the national level did everything to take this guy apart.
Yeah.
By the way, for those of you who don't know New Jersey politics, this truck driver guy in a small little house in a small little town decides to run, and the entire Democrat Party came down on this guy, doing everything they could to embarrass him. They couldn't find anything on him. Like I don't even think this guy's got a parking ticket. I mean, this is nothing. They couldn't get nothing on him.
Just an honest truck driver, man.
He's just an honest man. He's just like an honest guy. And I got friends who know him and say he's a great dude too. I've never met him. I never had the honor. I've met him.
I've met him. He's a good guy.
Good dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah. I'd vote for him if he was in our district. But I think it's also key to point out the third district. And the first district and possibly the fourth district, you're looking at a real collection of New Jersey that's going to be a red part of the state. I mean, and I'm going to say it, people up in our county aren't going to like it, but it's going to rival Sussex counties and Warren County and Morris County.
Well, maybe not Warren. Maybe not Warren because they're a very competent group down there.
Well, I meant size-wise. I'm talking about size. Yeah, size-wise. It's like where we have to expand outward too. We have to do that too. But having said that, there it is. You want to move on to the governor's race, or is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
That closes it up with this election. Everybody, we'll summarize it real quick, and then I think we'll start a new video for the governor's race and take a quick break if you don't mind. But to sum up what we got going on here, as you guys know, this truck driver comes out of nowhere and beats the prince of the Democrats. What I really want to emphasize is that if anybody could go back in time and ask anybody's opinion if Durr had a chance of beating Sweeney, they would have said, no way in hell. No way in hell. Now, there's a lot of these long shot candidates that come out and that fail miserably in New Jersey, saying, I have conservative values. I'm the real deal. What is it that made Durr win? Because I've been watching this all over New Jersey. Some random dude in a random place says, I'm conservative. I have real values, but they have no qualifications and no wherewithal. Durr seems to have the intrinsic ability to actually act as the opposition party. Whereas the others, they look like they would just fall on their faces. If Durr had the resources behind him, and if Durr can somehow figure out how to get the resources behind him, because that's just as important. You can't just sit around and say, how come nobody's helping me? You got to be a leader and figure out how to get it yourself. That's what makes Brannick so effective. Brannick can pull his own resource, pull his own support in. If Durr can do that, he can in a sense be the opposition party, and he can compel. If he can learn to cherry pick and find weak Democrats in the Senate and figure out a way to use and gain support from various economic and political factions to pressure them to work with him, he can in a sense be the opposition party. He can then threaten Democrats' appointments. He can threaten their pet projects, and then they'll listen to him. Because the way most Republicans act in this legislature, from my observation, is they act, it's pathetic. It's, okay, Democrats, you're in charge. How may I please you for you to give me something? Right. And that's not
yell and scream about
collaboration.
Yeah, let's yell and scream about it, and we'll complain about it, but we're not going to push our agenda forward on you.
We have conservative legislators that have never gotten one piece of legislation through, and they've been there for almost a decade.
Hmm.
When you have that,
That's a problem.
yeah, when you have that, oh, they're all about screaming what great conservatives they are, but they're utterly incompetent. They haven't
Yeah.
brought any money into their districts. They haven't raised any strong stables of candidates to local levels. They only care about their power position in their chair and talking about what great conservatives they are. And then
Mm-hmm.
they work with the Dems and they collaborate with the Dems, controlled opposition. One thing we can say about Durr is I don't think he's controlled opposition because both the Democrats and Republicans hate his guts. That's a pretty good indicator
Well,
of not controlled
I,
opposition.
I would caution to say that that's not every single Republican who's in there.
No,
There are
not at
some
all. Not at all.
who
It's
push
some.
the buttons
Some.
and get there other
Mhm.
than Durr, there are
Oh, yeah.
members of the
Oh, yeah.
legislature who are doing
Mhm.
what you're talking about, who are
Mhm.
kicking the seats out from under them and saying, "Hey, that's not the way this is going to work." They're it's important because some of the things that they're going on in the committees, they're definitely drawing the line with some of the stuff with with sex eds, especially with the Second Amendment stuff. I've seen stuff with that too.
Yeah, but it's more than just yelling about it because yelling about it
Right.
doesn't get you anywhere. It's more than just
Yep.
speeches. Like I said, the opposition party uses like I know this where this is very near and dear to me is I was in the middle of the Iraqi elections in 2004, and I saw the Sunni opposition party led by Harith al-Dari, and they had no power. We just debathized them. So we basically eliminated every competent or capable person that the Sunnis had. But what he did was he ran a very strong opposition party. So what he was able to tell the Shiite majority was, got it. You guys got the votes. You guys got the votes. But you know what we have? We have the power grid. You know what we have? We have the roads leading into the trade for all the other countries. Oh, unless you want to go to Iran and the Iranians don't like you. We also have this. We also have the tribes. We also have the Euphrates River and the dam. We have the Haditha Dam. So what they did was they leveraged what they had, and they said, if you want your people to partake, then you have to work with us. And there was crying and gnashing of teeth and a lot of bloodshed. They actually went to bloodshed. But that's an opposition party. Europeans do that all the time. In the European parliaments, you have an opposition party that leverages their economic resources and their political resources to compel the majority to work with them and say, look, you want our support, we're going to want this. Otherwise, we're going to do this to you. Just getting in there, tub thumping.
Doesn't do any good.
That's good for emotion. That's good for emotion. Yeah. But we want statesmanship. We want statesmanship. And Jim, I'm telling you, I've only been here a few years. You've been here your whole life. But in the few years I've been here, the loudest conservatives I see are some of the guys who, without knowing them, are the guys who are working with the Democrats unofficially.
I hear that. I totally hear that.
Yeah.
I do want to point out we did have the numbers are less because there's $600,000 that the Joint Committee of the Democrats used to go against her. It's an incredible amount of money, and we've seen this across the state. The story here is huge amounts of money used, and the big bad wolf, the big giant machine that the Democrats say, oh, they're unstoppable. The boogeyman does not exist.
Nope.
And the guy who crushed it was Durr. He's just one example of the people who crushed this boogeyman. We're the other example, by the way. We're totally laying it out. The Democrats are completely beatable in many of the districts out there, enough to put the Republicans in charge of the state. That's where my numbers sit right now. We have enough places where if the money is leveraged the right way and the votes are done well enough, we can take the entire legislature back, both houses, in the 2023 election, and we can take the governor's house then in 2025. Just saying. And I'm going to leave that for our next video. Any final thoughts, Joe? Because we're at 30 minutes.
Salute to Mr. Durr. Congratulations, sir. Keep it up.
All right. And we'll see you our next video.
Next video.